head judge Lee Thompson was here, actually made a special point to tell the guys. We talked about like Toth last year. He was good, but he was a little round in the middle, and that's ultimately what hurt his placings. Lee Thompson actually made a special provision that they will absolutely be checking on the weights. Guys, you need to keep it in check. We're not just looking at you when you're doing a front double bicep or whatever the pose is. We're always looking at you, so be cognizant. So the judges are definitely looking out for that. And Lee Thompson put out the warning flare early, so if there's any of that kind of stuff going on, these guys have got to be more attentive. Peter, let me ask you this. I mean, that's something we did not see a lot of years ago. You catch it here and there. I mean, obviously people get tired up there. I tend to think that it's a combination of two things. One, food intake, which the guys online always like to laugh at because they think it's all drugs. But it's got nothing to do with drugs. The amount of food intake that these guys take in to carb up these days and the methodology is completely different than it was in the 90s and 2000s. The other thing is I think, is just lack of practice. I don't see the guys posing like they did years ago. We spent hours just working on the posing and the present, and you had to hold shots.
That's because they don't score the posing round anymore. Let me just jump in there with the stomach thing. Exhibit A, I know what you're saying. People say, oh, the food thing, that's a smoke screen for the drugs and everything. Well, Exhibit A, Rolly Winkler at the Arnold Classic in Columbus, looked like he was pregnant, let's be honest. A week later in Australia, it had gone. I mean, my question was, what did he call it? You know, but that can't be a drug organs distended thing. That's got to be, like you said, probably some carving up thing that went on.
And you saw the same thing from the other guys, because all the guys were a little bit guilty, or a lot of them at the thing. Ben Pekulski, also one of those guys that was kind of mentioned, needs to control the stomach. He looked like he had a flat stomach a week later. Again, that's not something that drugs are out of the system or something they're using. That's purely an attention to detail. But I still think a lot of the guys don't spend enough time holding the poses, practicing their posing. Nothing to do with the posing routine, of course, but the mandatories.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to touch on was last year at the Olympia, Adina and myself and Daryl, one of our tech guys that you guys know, we were all having dinner Thursday night at the hotel restaurant at the Olympia, and Rolly was sitting right next to us, and the volume of food he was eating was obnoxious. And we had made comments and about like, wow, he's eating a lot. I mean, we're not talking, 2 cups of rice and 10 ounces of chicken. I mean, this guy was stuffing his face, and you could see at that dinner, just him sitting down, that his stomach was starting to push out. And it's like, everybody knows how it is to, you go to a buffet on a Sunday morning because it's your cheat day or whatever, and you stuff your face and you leave and you can hardly move and you got a food baby. Well, when these guys are so concerned about being full on stage, I got to be full. And we know how it is. Anybody who's competed knows a lot of times you're sitting backstage and you're not just eating one meal. You're eating the whole time constantly. That's going to push out your stomach. And I agree on the posing, and I know I've, even at the level I've been guilty of that. I've done 5 shows. I've done 10 shows. I don't need to practice posing. I know how to hit a front double bicep. I know how to hit a rear lat spread. And I think a lot of guys just, they stop doing that. And one of the things that Lee Thompson had talked about that I was talking about with, a couple of guys earlier on is they really have to be careful during their transitions. A lot of guys, when I was speaking with Mark Erpelding, a lot of guys when they're setting up their poses, the judges will call side chest, and, a lot of guys will get here to set it up. And then right when they go here, they just let it out just for a second, and that's when every photographer in the audience decides to take the pictures. And, and it's like, I don't like to see it any more than the next guy. It happens. I don't think somebody letting their stomach out in transition is, indicative that they've got this huge, massive gut. I just think it's laziness, and I don't want to say laziness, but they're just not paying attention to the detail like they need to. And I think with more posing practice, I think that could be something that could be remedied relatively easily.
Well, Peter, David brings up a great point, and you're a perfect person to address this. I went online after the whole stomach gate thing came out there, and I wasn't really defending it because obviously we all want to see small waist and all that, and Arnold's comments and all that. But one thing I did want to address and to somewhat defend is it the photographer's duty to take pictures and not put that photo out there? I mean, listen, we've got cameras now. It was different in the old days. You couldn't shoot 100 frames a second, and get every little single thing. But but you're also, I mean, shouldn't there be some responsibility on the photographer's part to not post those? Those were never submitted. You guys wouldn't even have taken those pictures in the old days because they were garbage pictures. You wanted good pictures of the guys looking their best and all that kind of stuff. Is there a responsibility from the paparazzi to just post good shots, or is that just keeping it real?
Well, the thing is, with the internet now, I mean, you can't edit as you go along, because if you start to edit the shots, say, take that one out, you're going to be an hour after the event where everybody wants it instantly. So there's no editing done. Everything that's taken, even if it's the back of somebody's head, that's going to go up. So that's one of the problems. I will say that, and this is not blowing my own trumpet or anything, back in the day, and the magazines don't do it, because you look at a shot, a training shot or whatever, you always want to show the guy in his best. You never show a bad shot, even if you hate the guy. You don't say, bang, let's put this in and show him up. So yeah, it's this instant everything that throws that stomach up, and Marcus Haley suffered from that. Remember 2 years ago, he did that rolling thing. Everybody got that shot, and that became...
that was unfair, because he didn't look like that on stage. I mean, he was actually doing a stomach roll, and of course, like you said, everybody was snapping pictures during it, and of course, the only shots you saw posted wasn't when he finished, but it was right during the spot where he, now it's not the most attractive thing in the world, and but the audience gets a kick out of it for whatever reason. It's like the hand of the year thing, or the raise the roof, or anybody that can moonwalk. A guaranteed applause. But I think there's a responsibility from the media. And yeah, you're right. It's a race to get stuff out there. But is it a race when garbage is being put out there?
But you see, even if it could be controlled, say if MD in the major magazine said, you know what, we will do a slight edit, get that picture out of there. Somebody else over here is going to put it up there, and that's what everybody sees. There's no control anymore in that sense. When it was just the magazines, sound like we're going back into the Soviet Union. You could control a guy's image from a personality point of view, from the way he looked, from, like I say, you would get some training shots. Oh, dear me, his arm looks small. Well, you're not using that one, we'll use that.
You've seen pictures from every era, from the 60s on up, literally. I'll guarantee you've seen your fair share of not that great of shots of anybody, of Arnold, of this guy, of Zane, of, whoever, that you had to actually sit there and go, look, let's not use that when it doesn't look good. That's what I mean by responsibility of the people involved in the industry to kind of make it look as best as you can.
Yeah, I mean... Exactly, but like I say, there'll be somebody in the audience, maybe a friend or whatever, not even professional photographer. They'll take the shot and it'll go viral, whatever it is.
All right, well, this will give you guys some food for thought over the weekend here. We'll be covering the show all weekend long, of course. We'll be in the pit covering the play-by-plays. All the action tomorrow starts live at 2:30. For the pros, they'll go on, and then 2:30 the following day, Saturday, for the finals. So we've got early finals here, which is always nice, so you guys can follow along. But get on the boards. David will be on there defending his decision not to wear a backwards hat and a T-shirt, so you guys can't get on his ass for that. That's going to wrap things up here. We'll catch you guys right after the prejudging. We'll be giving our breakdowns, of course, and the assessment of the show. For David Bay and Peter McGuff, I'm Bob Chick, signing out.